Good evening, everyone. I'm Rose Colosino with Indivisible, Illinois. I welcome you this evening, along with my organizing partners, Northwest Suburban OFA, Ballot Z, and the team. Our focus during this series of storms is changing the usually low turnout for the municipal elections, which can affect our lives more than the federal elections. With the general election on April the 6th, we hope to improve on those numbers. Gretchen has called to our attention that today, February the 25th, is the first day of early voting. Most locations may not be open yet, so turn to her Ballot Z, Google it please, to find out about your location. Please help spread the word. We are very excited that our Twitter storms have amassed over 25 million impressions since inception. We know that we make a difference. I want to start by sharing my personal connection. Although I have a residence in Lakeview in Chicago, I've been living in Orland Park since the pandemic. I also grew up here, moving when I got my first job. It was a little while ago. So I'm thrilled to have the One Orland Party with us tonight. It's time for good governance to return to Illinois and to Orland Park. Enough of the drama, time for the government to serve the people and not vice versa. I want to wish a warm welcome to the candidates. Nick will introduce, and I will ask the candidates to introduce themselves. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for remarks and 3 minutes to answer questions. Jim will be our timekeeper. For the seasoned tweeters, you don't have to wait, you can get right at it. I ask you to tweet as we get underway. Once the candidates complete their upfront remarks, we will ask Dan for any closing comments. Then Gretchen and Julia will review the toolkit. We will start the music. I understand that Gretchen has a great playlist ready for us. And then we'll start the full court tweeting. We will be taking occasional breaks where we will provide additional ways to get engaged with this campaign. We will wrap and debrief at 7:45. Please keep in mind that we don't want you just to work on social media. Phone calls are also very necessary. Volunteers are needed, and also donations. Nick, I turn it over to you.
All right, everybody. Hey, so many of you on the call know that I am from Orland Park. We have a lot going on out there lately, but we have a really great team coming together. The One Orland Party is really the right group of people to get us back on track. We have Dan McLaughlin, he's running for mayor, and 20 years ago, when my parents were figuring out where to move to, Orland Park was the place that they chose, and it was largely due to the work Dan McLaughlin did when he was mayor, growing the village from a small suburb to one of the largest ones in Illinois, diversifying our economy, also having great schools, expanding our parks. And over the last 4 years with the current mayor, we've seen us really moving in the wrong direction on a number of things. So I'm confident that Dan and the rest of our slate here tonight can really get us back on track in Orland, but I figure we can just turn it to them to outline some of the big priorities and what's coming down the pike in the next 6 weeks till election day. So I'm going to turn it to Dan McLaughlin.
Well, good evening, everybody. And I really want to thank all of you for all your help. And I want to give a shout out to Nick. Nick has been quietly behind the scenes running phone banks and Twitter storms, which I never heard of before. So Nick, I want to let you know we all appreciate all the work you're doing behind the scenes. It means a lot to us. I just got in from knocking on doors, and very good response again as usual. I kind of was startled because the very first door I knocked on tonight, there was a woman that said both her parents died within 3 weeks of each other from COVID back in, I think it was August or September of 2020. And at the time, she was promoting the mask wearing and all the rest of it. And the mayor was saying, we don't have a problem in Orland Park and masks are not needed. And he was, kind of going against the science. So she was saying at the time, Mayor Pekow was saying, we don't have a problem in Orland. Her two parents are dying within 3 weeks of each other. So that was the way I started tonight. I have been mayor for 24 years. I know you probably think I'm only about 40, right? No? All right. But I was mayor for a long time, and I'm proud of the record that we accomplished in those years. Almost $700 million in infrastructure and new facilities for the village. I started some unique environmental programs like our open lands program and Smart Living Orland Park. Started us on the way to things like our nature center. So I feel good about all that. And those I'm mentioning because we just found out today we were endorsed by the Sierra Club because they appreciate all the things we've done for the environment. So we're happy about that today too. So I have a lot of plans and ideas for moving the village forward. I really do think the village has been stagnant the last 3 or 4 years, virtually no economic development. Crime everywhere is on the rise, but there's some areas in Orland that I would call hotspots that nothing's being done about. Just in general, it just seems like there's so much to do and I want to get back to work. So I don't want to take too much of your time tonight, although I'll be glad to answer any questions. But I really feel good about the slate we're running with too. Amy Burrell is online tonight. I know I just talked to Chris. He's out knocking on doors. I just came in, so Chris may tie in later. And Pat O'Sullivan is running for village clerk, and he's on our high school district board. And their monthly high school board meeting just started, so he may get on later as well. But so Pat O'Sullivan for village clerk, Amy, and Derek Rinaldi is on with us tonight. He's one of the trustee candidates and a small business guy in Orland, but also involved with the Cub Scouts. And well, you know what? I shouldn't be introducing you guys. You want to introduce yourselves. But I'm just proud of the slate we're running with. Great, a lot of energy, a lot of good ideas, and just new people. So, but thanks everybody for your help tonight.
Dan, I want to welcome you. My name is Rose, and I don't know if you heard my remarks in the beginning, but I'm temporarily for the last year living in Orland Park. I've lived in Chicago for decades. It's the last year I've lived in Orland, and I do recall the good years when I was here is when you were mayor. So I really hope, I unfortunately can't vote here, but my mom can, and we already requested her vote by mail ballot, but really thrilled to hopefully see you in leadership. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and bank on it because I think hopefully the people in Orland Park are smart people and they will understand what a great slate we have. I'm going to ask Nick to ask the first question to Dan. Nick, if that's cool with you.
Yes, and I know we have a long list of questions, but I can't find them right now. So.
Well, I will jump in because we are a team. We are a team and we work together. Okay. So Dan, the mall is an economic engine of Orland Park, obviously, and don't repeat this because I don't want to age myself. I was here, Dan, when it was built. I remember JCPenney's going up. I think maybe one of the other anchor stores were there. So I've been here for a while. And the mall hopefully will continue to be an economic engine at Orland Park. And COVID has most definitely hit retail here and everywhere. How would you help businesses emerge from this pandemic?
Well, I mean, your question opens the door to all kinds of comments. So let me say that Orland Square is our economic engine, has been for years. I started working to try and make it diversify our economic base, so Orland Square wasn't our main engine. We appreciate Orland Square, but I really am nervous about having all our apples in one basket, if you know what I mean. So we started kind of setting the table and working our way to get the car dealers on 159th Street. We annexed property into the I-80 corridor to try and spur a different type of economic development down in the I-80 corridor, potentially office and research, maybe some manufacturing. What's unique about the I-80 corridor is it's actually in Orland Park, but it's in Will County as well. And Will County's property taxes are 2/3 less than Cook County. So then I started a downtown development because I've noticed, or all my travels and involvement in other groups, most successful communities have some kind of a main street or a downtown or a river walk or some gathering place for the residents and visitors, pedestrian friendly mixed use type development. So I started a downtown development at 143rd and LaGrange, which was off to a good start and even got University of Chicago to be part of it. When I left, we had a letter of intent on the next building in the downtown, which was going to have a high-end theater on the second floor. First floor was going to have Seasons 52, a very good restaurant, along with some other uses. And when he came in, he killed that project and started pushing for a theater at Orland Square, which I think is a mistake. So Orland Square, I think, for a lot of reasons, to kind of change with the times, which every business has to possibly solve a little bit of the the safety and crime issue at Orland Square, and just to diversify things, I would love to work with Simon Development, offer some incentives and some assistance to try and remove the roof at Orland Square and make it an open air shopping center like Oak Brook. That's one thing that I think would help spur that area again, kind of bring it back to life. There's a lot of vacancies in Orland Square if you've walked around in there lately. But in terms of small businesses surviving through COVID, that's kind of a different story. A lot of the businesses in Orland are chains, so they get support, different types of support from the chain, joint advertising, joint purchasing, that kind of thing. So it's more the family-owned mom and pop businesses I'd be interested in. And there's numerous ways we could have been, and we still can help them with some low interest or no interest loans. We could be helping them build outdoor eating facilities temporary while we're getting through COVID. In the last year, going against the governor's recommendations and science and the doctors, Mayor Picow held an outdoor concert that lost 120 grand. Taste of Orland lost 200 grand. He was the only pool, a water park in the suburbs that left open for the summer, lost almost $1 million. Sued the governor and spent about $80,000 to $100,000 on suing the governor over COVID. You add that up and you've got about $1.5 million that has gone down the drain that could have been used to help small businesses get through this. You know, no interest loans or low interest or no interest loans to help them keep payroll and keep people on staff, to help them build outdoor facilities for outdoor eating, to build partitions between booths and tables. We could have done all kinds of things to help our small businesses, but instead we chose to have large gatherings against recommendations and wasted about $1.5 million, in my opinion. So I don't know if that answered. I tried to touch on a whole bunch of points, but if that didn't answer, ask again.
Thank you, and I'm glad we're going to have that on video. That's a very comprehensive answer. It makes a lot of sense, and definitely that's the kind of leadership we need in Orland. I'm going to go ahead and give you another question, if that's okay. And I know this is something very important to young folks, Nick, Gretchen, and Amy, and I'm sure it should be for the rest of us as well, me included. What kind of things do you think need to be done for the environment at the local level?
Well, now you're kind of talking my specialty. I started years ago the open lands program in Orland Park, and that was unique in the sense that the kind of open lands program we created is something that usually counties do, not municipalities. So municipalities have parks, and we have a lot of parks. We have 60 parks. But in addition, I started the open lands program to save high quality open lands and heritage trees so that every inch of Orland Park wasn't built on. We started different ways of raising money to support that, the idea of buying properties. And while we had some luck with some of these small ideas, we weren't raising money fast enough. So I promoted a $20 million bond referendum. And the idea was to take that $20 million and match it up with state and federal grants. So a lot of times you can get grants to help with like an open lands purchase, and you have to come up with, 80%, they'll come up with 20%. But at least you can stretch that $20 million bond referendum into a lot more purchasing power. So we did the bond referendum, and as of when I left, I think we had purchased over 300 acres of quality land, two farms, and one of them we chose to make a living history farm, the Stellwagen farm. So that's kind of unique to be able to tell students and have students come out and visit, see how farming was done 100 years ago. I started on a long project to work with the owners of the property on LaGrange Road, about 140th or 141st. And we acquired that land to do a nature center. And just north of a part of the property is a wetland. And that wetland, if Rose, you've been out in Orland long enough, you probably remember, you go down LaGrange Road past that wetland certain times of the year, and it was like a landing spot for all the herons and egrets. And it was just hundreds, if not thousands of egrets and herons that gravitated to that place. And they're kind of gone because all the perches, all the trees that they would land on have all rotted in the wetlands and fallen and died. So my next step after starting the nature center was going to be, and maybe I can get back to it, is to put artificial perches in to try and attract those herons and egrets back. What else? I started Smart Living Orland Park, which was a program that received a lot of compliments on how comprehensive it was. My idea was to have as comprehensive a list as possible on what homeowners and small businesses can do to make their home or their business save energy, save water, just become very energy efficient. The program was called Smart Living Orland Park. We put such an extensive list together, and then we encouraged the public by saying that if they did 10 items on this list, they would get a sticker for their screen door. And then if they did 10 more items, they got something else. And so we tried to encourage people to take part in that. As far as I know, that's kind of dropped right now. What else? Shoot, I was just going to mention something. There's a couple other things we did.
Well, as you're thinking, I'll tell you that my temporary one-year residence here in Orland, once again, we're right by the farm, and I love running by the farm, and we need you back. We need you back to fulfill some of your plans for the environment.
Well, one of the things I do want to do if I get back, and I do expect to win and get back, I want to start. Orland Park does not allow bees, and I happen to be a beekeeper. So I want to look for kind of best practices in the suburbs that do allow bees, and write an ordinance that allows bees. And then I want to encourage people and have the village plant pollination gardens for the butterflies and bees. So that's kind of something I'm looking forward to getting back into. Shoot, there's a couple other things I want to mention. I'm just drawing a blank right now.
Well, I tell you what, we are going to turn it over to, I think, Derek next, if that's okay, and then Amy. And we're going to give you the opportunity to have some closing remarks. So if things go our way, whatever you want to close with, then you'll have that opportunity. Sound good?
Sure.
Okay. So I am now going to turn it over to the rest of this excellent slate. And we have with us Derek. Derek, if you can introduce yourself, please, and give some remarks. And then we have a question for you too.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for hosting this. This is fantastic to be a part of. Very, very excited to be a part of the slate. More than willing to do whatever we can to get Orland Park back on track. So all good things down in the future. So this is looking forward to it. So a little bit about myself. Been an Orland resident since 2012. Myself and my wife moved here. She's actually, my wife has been in Orland since the 90s. Her family started here. She grew up here. We actually purchased her parents' house. So a little bit of history in the residence there. As Dan had mentioned, I am a local small business owner. I run a property inspection company. I am also a den leader for Den 6 and Den 11 in the Orland Park Cub Scout Pack 372. Something I'm really proud to be involved with. We've done a lot of great work. The Orland Park Memory Center, we worked at them. We do tow trucks for tots every year, with the exception of last year because of everything going on. Can't really have that kind of gathering amid COVID. My background, I have a degree in architecture, and I worked as a project engineer for years. I've been part of a lot of large-scale building projects. I worked with Aldridge Electric for a while, so if any of you guys ever took the red line or blue line, the signal restoration project, that was something I was a part of. So I'm looking forward to getting involved in some of the larger scale projects in Orland that we have in the pipeline.
Excellent, Derek. Sorry, my fingers are always very slow on the mute button, so apologize for that delay. Yes, thank you so much. And as I mentioned at the start of the call, I feel like I know the slate better with this opportunity because I read about your backgrounds, and I'm fairly proud of the tweets that I wrote up, but we'll see what you have to say for each of you. So Derek, with your experience, can you expand upon that a little more? How will your background in construction and project management, how will you use those skills more specifically to help the village?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we've been talking about as a slate is the idea of the Triangle Project, the I-80 corridor, and also expanding on some of the properties around Orland Park right now. I've been involved with multi-million-dollar projects. I know how to get project engineering done. I know how to work with different groups that we're trying to get in here, different businesses. These are all things that, in my opinion, are right in my wheelhouse. As a small business owner myself, I kind of know what goes into it to get, okay, we're looking at filling this business area. What kind of incentives can we offer to get more businesses into the location? Just like Dan said, smaller no interest loans, especially for a small business owner, someone who's local that isn't feeding off of a larger entity. Those are huge boons to bring in business. Aside from that, looking at adapting green space, adapting pedestrian friendly walkways, ideas that we can get more, how should I put this? Less cars in parking lots and more people walking around. These are all things that are adaptive to allowing people to get to a downtown space. It draws eyes, it draws business, it draws people. And those are all things that we're looking at doing.
Derek, thank you so much. I love the diversity of the slate. I love your ideas, and so happy to have you. And also, I understand that Chris is in the house. Chris, welcome. Thrilled to have you as well. We are going to go ahead, give you a chance to catch your breath from hopefully very productive canvassing. Been there, not today, but been there. And we're going to turn it over to Amy next, and then we'll go to Chris. So Amy, again, welcome. I feel like we chatted before this, so we got to know us ladies, get to know each other quickly. Welcome. If you could just tell us about yourself and give us your opening remarks, and then we have a question for you too. Thanks.
Definitely. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks again. We really appreciate this. And this is great to have people out there like you guys supporting us. It is fantastic. Amy Burrell, I am running for Village Trustee of Orland Park. I am a 27-year-old woman. I grew up in Hickory Hills, so just a little bit north of Orland Park, but I've been coming here all my life. And I've lived here for about 3 years now and love the area. Love what we're doing here in Orland, but I want to get involved with my community. I think it's very important for young people to invest in their local government. And that's one of my goals, is to try and make sure young people realize how important it is for them to care about their local spaces and to make sure that they're doing what they can to vote in elections, because that's where a lot of our voices carry the most weight. So that is one thing that I'm really excited about doing. And then another thing that I love, and that's actually what really inspired me to get involved and look into local government, was a lot of the events of the summer, whether it be COVID, but a lot to do with like racial inequality. I want to make sure that we're doing the best in my town, and that we're saying Orland Park is a great place to live and there is diversity in this town. And I want to make sure that we have voices and representation for everybody here in Orland Park. So really excited to be involved. Again, I'm a young woman wanting to do something great for our community, and I'm very excited and happy that I get to run on the slate with great leaders and experienced people that have a lot of opportunities and a lot of ways that I can learn from them. So very excited about that. This has been a fun experience, and I can't wait to hopefully lead my village with the One Orland Party.
Really well said. Thank you. Thank you for your energy. So Amy, my question to you is, how do we attract more young people like you to the suburbs?
Yes.
What are your ideas?
Oh my gosh, all of the ideas. So I think the major thing we need to do, and this is the big thing I talk about with everybody, we need a downtown space. Orland Park residents deserve a downtown location, but especially for young people, we want to hang out. We want to explore a town. We want places where we can walk around and we can go to a cafe, we can go to a bar, we can go shopping and support local small businesses. But Orland doesn't have that. Orland has big corporate retail stores that you go into for your shopping, and then you go back into your car and you go home. Then later you go out to downtown LaGrange, you go to Downers Grove, you go to Tinley or even Frankfurt. All of these towns have fantastic spaces to meet with your friends, but we don't have that here in Orland. And I think by taking advantage of the metro right there and using those spaces to really amplify what this town has to offer, we're going to bring a lot of young people into Orland. We're going to bring a lot of young families. And that's really important, because we need, again, this is a great town. We have so much to offer here, but right now we don't have much in the way of entertainment and enjoying our spaces. And a lot what Dan was talking about, we've got a lot of green spaces and we have a lot of things that we love about Orland, but we're not showing it off in the best way. So to get young people here, and even to just visit or to move here, we need we need a downtown location and we deserve it.
Hear, hear. We need to listen to Amy. Excellent
Yes.
ideas. Thank you.
Yes.
Now we are going to turn it over to Chris. Chris, thanks for being here. If you can do the same, introduce yourself, some remarks, and then we'll have a question for you too. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Chris Kasmer. I've gotten my 1-minute speech down from knocking doors, so I'll share that with you. But I have lived in Orland Park since March of 2012. I have 2 kids that are in Orland School District 135. So for the last 4 years, I have volunteered as the district-wide president of the Parents for Education for the school district. That is the parents group that raises money for the schools, enhanced educational opportunities for students. I am a union carpenter, and so I actually built a lot of homes in Orland Park, but through the Carpenters Union, I actually teach a leadership program out at our International Training Center. So for about 6 years before the pandemic hit, 5 to 6 times a year, I would fly out to our International Training Center. We would bring in a couple hundred contractors and carpenters, and we would put them through what we call collaborative leadership, which was teaching them skills in working with different personality types based on DISC profiles. And then we would put them through all kinds of communication modules with an emphasis on teaching them to be active listeners so that other stakeholders could provide ideas. And when more than one person is involved in the decision-making process, people have a tendency to have buy-in and pull on the same end of the rope instead of working against you. And I think that's a skill that we have been missing in the village for the last 4 years. Actually being able to listen to residents, put their ideas into motion. And then the last thing that I like to tell people is, for 11 years, I've actually been a trustee on the Chicago Transit Authority's Retiree Healthcare Trust. It's a $1 billion trust fund that provides subsidized retired healthcare to retired transit workers. I've served terms as its chairman and as the secretary of that board. It's one of the only municipal funds in the state that's been 100% funded. We've actually been able to decrease contributions into that fund over the time that I've been on it without reducing benefits. So, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but I sort of say I think that I have the trifecta as being a trustee for what you'd want for in local office, that I have the right temperament and leadership skills to involve other people. I've been trying to volunteer, make my community better on as much as I can. And then, I actually have a proven track record of being a careful steward of public money. So, and then from there, I just ask people what's important to them and try to talk to about what they care about in the village. So that's my elevator speech.
And a very good one too. Very well said. I think the constituents of Orland Park would be very fortunate and lucky to have all of you. And Chris, I did have the opportunity to read about all your leadership roles, and very, very impressive. And again, I don't know how much of my background you heard, but I am a temporary resident right now about Orland Park, and Nick has really clued me into really the lack of leadership in Orland Park. So you mentioned some ideas. Where would you prioritize? Because really doesn't seem, right now we're kind of rudderless. Doesn't seem like Orland Park today has leadership. What would you prioritize? What would be your perhaps number one step?
Well, I think the number one step is actually improving communications with residents. Whether you fall on the left or right end of the spectrum, politically, I don't think that matters if people are, talking about facts, instead of negotiating over misinformation, if we can all agree on a set of what reality is and what the challenges are, we should focus on fixing those problems rather than, making up problems and then, arguing about those or pretending like problems don't exist and ignoring them. So I'm really interested in, having a shared vision for Orland Park and, listening to people to make sure that, we're talking about what matters and then instead of talking about political spin. And I think that's where some of my leadership could come into play in the village.
Music to my ears. Indivisible has something called Truth Brigade. And I think fighting for the truth is not only important for Orland, but really for the US, the world, and our democracy. So very well said. I could actually listen to all of you longer, but we do need to tweet and we need to get the word out. Dan, if you could close us up, that would be Fantastic. And then after that, we'll throw it to our toolkit experts, Julia and Gretchen. But first to you, Dan.
I'll just wrap it up by saying you can see why I'm excited about running with this slate. A broad variety, a broad spectrum of experience, and yeah, they're a little younger than me, but I would say that, by the way, the one thing I couldn't remember earlier when you were asking me about environmental issues, I just wanted to say, I believe we're the only town to have 3-tier water pricing. So where the rest of the world goes by the more pens you buy, the less you pay per pen. In Orland, the less water you use, the less you pay per gallon, because we're trying to encourage people to save water and use less water. So we basically reward them with a lower price when they reach certain levels. So it's something that we're unique in that area. And I wanted to double up on what Amy said in terms of attracting young people. The downtown, that's part of the purpose for that. Young people want walkable spaces. And everything in Orland is big parking lots and you have to drive from one place to the other. This is designed to be a walkable area. So I'm excited about that. And you will hear occasionally,
I was preventing.
Oops, controversy about this downtown because people don't quite understand it. But if you're really interested in knowing more, on our website, I wrote about 4 or 5 years ago, I wrote a white paper explaining the downtown, what was behind it, how we did it, the money behind it, the reasoning, it covers a lot of area, but it's like 20 pages. So a lot of people don't want to read it. But if you want to know more about our downtown and what's behind it, check out the white paper because I think it kind of sums up a lot. But anyway, so thanks to everybody for helping. I feel pretty good about our chances in April, and I especially like the idea that you guys are helping with stuff that I'm not that good at. I've never been part of a Twitter storm, I got to tell you. So I appreciate all your help. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dan. I think One Orland is the future, and this city girl might even consider staying in Orland if this slate gets into office. Who knows? I'm getting very used to that idea after hearing you all.
Does Jim have a question?
I do. Where do I go to download that white paper?
Nick, you want to help him with that? It's on our website, and I think it's under issues.
Yeah, Jim, I'll put a link.
But I really appreciate everybody's help.
Absolutely. And now we are going to continue having fun. We will begin our Twitter storm. And what we do is we get an overview from Gretchen and Julia. So Julia.